A devoted husband's world shatters the night he walks in on his wife and his identical twin brother in bed. But what begins as a brutal moment of betrayal quickly spirals into a chilling web of lies, deceit, and murder. Framed for a crime he didn't commit, imprisoned and abandoned by everyone he loved, he uncovers shocking evidence that his wife faked her death, stole his identity, and ran away with his twin to start a new life. Fueled by rage and the thirst for justice, he fights to clear his name and expose the truth. But when he finally tracks them down, a haunting twist reveals a secret even more devastating. The child they raised together might not be who he thought. This is a gripping true crime tale of love, betrayal, and revenge, and it's far from over. Welcome to Through Crime, your portal into the most chilling true crime cases, unsolved mysteries, and the darkest corners of criminal history. If you are new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Today's case, we dig deep into the facts, uncover shocking twists, and explore the theories that keep investigators and the world on edge. My name's Daniel, or maybe it used to be. These days, I don't even know who I am anymore. 3 lives were destroyed in under 5 minutes. One decision, one moment, all because I walked in 10 minutes early. I was married to Claire for 5 years. To everyone else, we were perfect. She was my high school sweetheart, the kind of woman who lit up any room she entered. People used to joke that I married up, and they were probably right. But what most people didn't know was that I had a twin brother, David. David was everything I wasn't. Charming, smooth-talking, a little reckless but magnetic. We'd been close growing up, inseparable really, until life started pulling us in different directions. I became the safe one, the husband, the provider. David? He drifted, jobs, women, cities, but he always landed on his feet. And somehow he always had that look when he talked to Claire, the look I ignored, until I couldn't. It started small. Phone calls that ended when I entered the room. Inside jokes I wasn't part of. A softness in her voice when she said his name. And then the business trips started, just 2 days here and there, and every time I came home, something felt off. You ever walk into your own house and feel like you're interrupting something? That's how it was. Every time. I didn't want to believe it. Until one Friday afternoon, I left work early. My gut told me something was wrong. I parked a block away. Walked home. Quiet. Slow. I opened the front door and heard music playing, soft, moody. Then I heard her laugh. Claire's laugh. Coming from upstairs. My stomach dropped. I crept up the stairs, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear. The door to the bedroom was cracked. And that's when I saw it. Claire, David, together, on my bed. I didn't say anything at first, just stood there. She screamed when she saw me. David froze. And then everything went black. I don't remember grabbing the gun. I don't even remember owning it. It was a locked-up old family piece, something our father had left behind. All I remember is Claire's voice. Dan, please, it wasn't what it looked like. David trying to move toward me. Listen, man, let's talk about this. But there was no talking. One shot. David went down. Another shot. Claire collapsed. Blood. Screams. Silence. I sat on the floor for 10 minutes before calling 911. I told them everything. The affair. The betrayal. The moment I broke. The trial was fast. The story made national news. Husband kills wife and twin brother in cold blood. The press ate it up. Talk shows debated whether I was a monster or a man pushed too far. The court called it second-degree murder. Crimes of passion. I was sentenced to 30 years. But here's the thing no one talks about. That wasn't the end of the story. 2 years into my sentence, I got a letter. No return address. Just one sentence inside. You shot the wrong twin. At first, I thought it was a cruel joke. A sick prank from someone who'd followed the case. But then I started thinking back. David had a tattoo, a raven on his left shoulder. He got it after high school. Claire used to tease him about it. The body I shot didn't have it. I was too blinded by rage that day to notice. The cops assumed I knew which twin I was shooting. But what if I didn't? What if Claire and David planned it all, and the one I shot wasn't David at all? I reached out to the DA, the forensics team, even my old lawyer. No one listened. No tattoo on the autopsy photos, I told them. They shrugged it off. Tattoo could have been removed. Doesn't prove anything. But I knew. I didn't shoot David. So I started digging. From inside prison. I sent letters, made calls, pushed every button I could. 6 months later, I got a name. A real estate agent in Nevada had sold a home, cash, to a man named Daniel Reese. My name. My full name. But the man who showed up? The security footage showed someone else. My twin. Alive. Turns out Claire and David had been planning to run. Take money from our joint accounts, stage a betrayal that made me look insane. Maybe even provoke me into reacting. But she wasn't supposed to die. And David wasn't supposed to get caught. He vanished again after the house sale. But now I knew the truth. And that gave me something more dangerous than rage. Purpose. They think I'm locked away forever. They think I'm just another broken man with blood on his hands. But I'm still here. And I remember everything. Don't assume the devil wears horns. Sometimes he wears your face. Last week, someone left a photo outside my prison cell. It was of David, smiling, holding hands with a woman who looks exactly like Claire. And the note? If you're reading this, you probably already know how it started. I caught my wife Claire in bed with my identical twin David. Rage took over. 2 gunshots later, I was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to 30 years. But it wasn't David I killed. And now, somehow, Claire is alive too. The moment I saw that photo, David holding hands with a woman who looked like Claire, I felt like I was going insane all over again. It couldn't be her. I shot her. I watched her die. I felt the warmth of her blood on my hands. But that face, I'd know it anywhere. Was it a sick joke? A hallucination? A dream? No. The envelope was real. The photo was real. Someone wanted me to see it. And now, I knew 2 things for certain. David is alive. Claire might be too. I spent the next few months in prison like a man possessed. I requested every document related to the case. The autopsy reports. The coroner's photos. I stared at the image of Claire's lifeless face, trying to make sense of it. And that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. The woman I killed, she had a tiny scar above her left eyebrow. Claire never had one. Not when we met. Not on our wedding day. Not even the week before the murders. So who was she? It all started to fall apart, or come together depending on how you look at it. David and Claire had planned this. The affair was the bait. The betrayal was the trigger. The woman in bed with him that day? She looked like Claire, talked like Claire, even smelled like Claire. But she wasn't Claire. She was the stand-in. A decoy. A body to take her place while Claire and David disappeared. How did I miss it? Because love blinds you. Because rage buries the truth. Because when the people closest to you lie, you believe them anyway. It's hard to investigate a murder you've already been convicted for. Harder when you're in prison. But the letter, the photo, someone out there wants me to find the truth. And I'm starting to think it's someone close to them. A mistake. A loose end. Maybe even guilt. But whoever it is, they've been leaving me breadcrumbs. 2 weeks after the first photo, another envelope came. Inside was a receipt. A hotel reservation in Phoenix, Arizona. Paid in cash. Under the name Claire Marston. That was her mother's maiden name. I sent the receipt to a friend on the outside, a guy I trusted, former private investigator. He ran surveillance at the hotel. And guess what? He saw them, David and Claire, alive, together, living like ghosts in plain sight. They've changed, of course, dyed hair, new identities, but my friend followed them long enough to be sure they're real. And now it's not just about betrayal, not just about heartbreak, it's about revenge. I've filed for a retrial, citing new evidence and misidentification. The process is slow, but if the court agrees to reopen the case, I'll finally have my shot. Literally or legally, I haven't decided. But here's the twist. Remember the autopsy? Turns out the body labeled as David was cremated before a proper DNA match could be done. Just a routine mix-up, they said. Open and shut case. How convenient. And here's where it gets even darker. 3 months before the murders, David had taken out a life insurance policy. On me. Forged signature. High payout. Beneficiary? A Claire M. Reese. They were planning to kill me. But somehow their plan flipped. Maybe they got scared. Maybe the decoy was part of a backup plan. Maybe I wasn't supposed to come home early that day. Maybe I wasn't supposed to be the one holding the gun. But fate's a funny thing. Sometimes, it lets you live just long enough to become your enemy's worst nightmare. And now for the part you won't believe. Last night I got another letter. No name. Just a key. And a note that said, Storage Unit 103, everything you need to finish this is inside. They think locking a man in a cell breaks him. They don't realize that a man who's lost everything becomes something far worse, focused. The minute I held that key in my hand, everything shifted. It was more than a clue, it was a challenge. Finish this, the note said, and I will. The next step was getting someone I trust to go to that storage unit. I couldn't risk exposing the wrong person. I've learned my lesson. Betrayal doesn't always wear a stranger's face. I called my old friend and ex-cop, Ray. Ray's the kind of guy who believes in justice more than the system. He stuck with me during the trial, even when everyone else turned their backs. I mailed him the key. No explanation. Just a burner number and the words, 103, record everything. He called me the next day, his voice shaky. There's a lot of sh*T in here, Dan, he said. Documents, photos, old IDs, even wigs. But the craziest thing? There's a laptop. And it's not password protected. I held my breath. What's on it? He hesitated. Videos. Of them. David, Claire, talking about you, planning everything. There's even footage of the woman who took Claire's place that day. Dan, it was all staged. All of it. Ray uploaded the files to a secure drive and sent them to my lawyer. She nearly choked when she saw the video of Claire, alive, laughing and drinking wine with David, discussing how he'll never see it coming. That alone was enough for my lawyer to demand an emergency review of my case. The judge ordered the case reopened, and just like that, for the first time in 3 years, the system finally listened. Within 48 hours, everything moved fast. The national media picked it up again. Twin betrayal murder trial reopened after shocking new evidence emerges. Cameras, reporters. The same vultures who painted me a monster were now calling me a wronged man. But I wasn't interested in fame. I was interested in one thing: finishing what they started. Ray tracked David and Claire to a gated estate outside Tucson. New identities. Living as Ryan and Eliza Moore. Married. Wealthy. Disgustingly happy. They had a kid. Let that sink in. Claire and David, my wife and my brother, built a new life off my destruction. And the world let them. Until now. The DA's office issued an arrest warrant for conspiracy, fraud, identity theft, and second-degree murder for both Claire and David. U.S. Marshals went in, but when they got there, the house was empty, abandoned. No signs of struggle, no signs of packing, just gone, like ghosts. But here's where it gets insane. Remember that life insurance policy David took out in my name? It paid out. And the beneficiary wasn't Claire. It was someone named Celia Moore. Ray did some digging. Celia Moore doesn't exist, but her birth certificate does. Filed 2 months before Claire's death. Same birthday, same face, new name. Claire became Celia. She faked her own death and inherited my life insurance by making it look like I snapped and killed them both. It was a long con. One of the most twisted cons I've ever seen. But here's what they didn't count on. Me surviving. So now the country knows the truth. My sentence is on hold. I'm no longer a prisoner of the state. But I'm not free. Not until I find them. Not until I look David in the eye and make him feel what I felt the moment I pulled that trigger, thinking I was ending the worst pain of my life only to discover it was just the beginning. Yesterday, I received another envelope. Inside was a photo. Claire or Celia sitting on a beach, smiling. And the message written in red ink? We're waiting. I stared at the photo in my hand. Claire or Celia sitting on a beach chair, cocktail in hand. Sunset behind her. That same smug smile she wore the day she died, or pretended to. And that note. We're waiting. They wanted me to find them. It wasn't just a taunt, it was an invitation. The law had done its part. My conviction was overturned. I was released. Free, legally. But freedom doesn't feel like freedom when your soul's still chained to a past like mine. Ray picked me up outside the courthouse. No reporters. No press conference. Just me, my friend, and a plan. We flew to Belize 2 days later. Ray had traced the bank account Claire used for the insurance payout. Offshore, messy, hard to track. But eventually, he found a wire transfer that led to a private property registered under an alias, M. Reese. Reese was Claire's middle name. It was them. The villa was hidden, guarded, like they knew we were coming. And they did. That same day, another envelope showed up at our hotel. Inside, a photo of David holding their child. And a note. Family's everything. You understand that, don't you? My blood boiled. But Ray? He stayed calm, focused. He reminded me what was at stake. Not just revenge, but truth. Proof. Justice. The kind the world couldn't ignore. We broke into the villa that night. It was silent. Too silent. We moved room by room, careful not to make a sound. And then we found them. Claire. David. Their kid. Asleep in a master bedroom that looked like something out of a luxury magazine. For a moment I froze. They looked normal. Peaceful. Like a family. But that image shattered when Claire opened her eyes and saw me. She didn't scream. She smiled. You finally made it, she whispered. Took you long enough. David woke up next. Reached for something under the pillow, a gun. Ray was faster. He kicked it out of David's hand and slammed him against the wall. I stepped closer to Claire. Why? I asked. She tilted her head. Because you were predictable. Because you believed love meant loyalty. Because you trusted me. David laughed. And you made it so easy, brother. Always the good guy. The protector. But deep down you were just a pawn. Ray turned to me. We should call the authorities. Let the world see this. But I couldn't move. Not yet. Claire stood, walking slowly toward me. You think this ends with prison? Headlines? No, Dan. This ends when you understand. He never really had me. I belonged to him long before we ever said I do. Then she whispered, "And now we have a child. You can't take that away." That's when everything changed. The kid, a little boy maybe 4, woke up and stepped into the room. He looked just like David. But his eyes were mine. Claire froze. So did David. I looked at her, at him, and then the boy. "You lied to him too," I said. "He's mine, isn't he?" Claire didn't respond, but her face said everything. And suddenly the rage was gone. Not because I forgave them, not because I pitied them, but because now I had something they couldn't fake, couldn't erase. The boy was mine, and he deserved a chance at truth, not a life built on lies. We called the authorities. Interpol stepped in. The arrest was quiet, clinical. Claire and David didn't resist. They knew it was over. Ray and I took the child with us. DNA confirmed it. He was mine. Sometimes revenge looks like a bullet. Sometimes it looks like walking away with everything they tried to destroy. The story went viral. International headlines. A documentary is already in the works. People call me a hero. I'm not. I'm just a man who was betrayed and refused to stay broken. And as for Claire and David, they'll spend the rest of their lives in prison. But me? I get to raise my son and tell him the truth one day, when he's ready.